Good day, students. Today we will be learning about how to change the voice. Observe the two sentences on the board or the screen. Although the two sentences mean the same, the construct of the sentence varies. In the first sentence, the peon is the doer of the action or the subject. Opened is the verb and the gate is the object. Since the subject is the doer of the action in the sentence, the statement is said to be in active voice. In the second example, however, the gate is the object, was opened is the verb, and the peon is the subject. Since the form of verb shows that something is done by the subject, he is the receiver of the action. The statement is therefore said to be in passive voice. Thus, in active voice, the subject plays an active role, whereas in passive voice, the subject plays a passive role. Now that we have understood the difference between active and passive voice, it's time to look at the rules. The first rule, while changing the sentence from active to passive voice, is that the subject and object must be swapped or interchanged. The second rule is that tense of the verb must be maintained. However, appropriate helping verbs can be added. The main verb in passive voice must be written in the form of a past participle. Preposition by is to be added just before the subject in passive voice. Let's now learn in detail how verbs must be written in active and passive voice. In the first example, Ram makes kites. Ram is the subject, makes is the verb in simple present tense, and kites is the object. Remember, for a simple present tense, verb is, am, are can be added along with the past participle form of the main verb. Therefore, after we swap the subject and the object, the statement would be, a kite is made by Ram. Helping verbs can be added for each tense. For example, was, were for simple past, and will be, shall be for simple future. Students, for a continuous tense, verbs where ing is added, the helping verb being must be added in passive voice for present past tense. In case of perfect tense, the auxiliary verb been must be added in all three tenses. Thus, in perfect tense, has been, have been, had been, will or shall have been. Similarly, changes can be made when modal auxiliary is used in the sentences. Students, remember to use the same modal auxiliary in the passive voice along with the auxiliary be with the past participle form of the verb. For example, Ram must make kites. Passive voice would be, kites must be made by Ram. Students, try to remember the fourth column of the table so that you can comfortably change the verbs from active to passive voice. We'll now be dealing with changing the voice from imperative and interrogative sentences. Students, you know that imperative sentences denote order, command, or request. While changing such statements to passive voice, the word let is used at the start. Remember that all other rules, including the subject, object, swap, adding by before the subject, past participle form of the main verb must be followed in such sentences. Let's consider an example. Open the book. Here the sentence begins with the verb. Open is the verb, whereas the book is the object. We know the passive voice must start with let, followed by the object and the verb. Thus, the answer would be, let the book be opened by you. In case of interrogative sentences, the sentence usually starts with WH words. The passive voice in such statements usually begins with the preposition by, followed by the same WH word. Let's consider an example. Here, who is the WH word used, broke is the verb, whereas the glass is the object. We now start the passive voice with by whom. Since broke is the simple past tense, we use was as an auxiliary. This is followed by the object and the past participle form of broke, that is, broken. Do not forget to add an interrogation sign even in the passive voice statement. Students, make sure you follow the rules in a logical and step-by-step manner so as to avoid any errors. You can now attempt the other sentences in the exercises on your own.